to reboot or not to reboot next on Retro Serial. Hey everyone, welcome to Retro Serial. I'm your host, DNC. I'm glad you could be joining us for today's program. On the program today, we have Jack from Crazy Hank TV. Now, if you haven't been over at his channel, I really encourage you, go over and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the button. It's all good. He's got some great content. And one of the things he talked about over there was Logan's Run and whether or not to reboot it or not to reboot it. So I had this idea, let's just talk about it. Let's talk about reboots, how they're different from sequels, how they're different from remakes, and whether or not we should reboot movies, shouldn't reboot movies, what is our favorite, what's not our favorite. All that is in the interview today as me and Jack hash it out. So, but before we get to that interview, please do me the favor of subscribing to my channel and hitting the like button. Those two things, they mean the world to me. It really helps us here on the channel. And if you want to go a couple extra steps, you're always welcome to share this on your favorite social media. Hit the bell notification if you want these things come out. And also, if you want to help me grow this mogul empire, I'm about to actually make some changes in here real soon. Because of kind people like you, you can hit the link below to the Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate some of your hard-earned cash to see me grow this mogul empire. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching, tuning, listening in. If you're listening on podcast, that's great. If you're listening to us on YouTube or watching on YouTube, that's fantastic too. But let's get to that interview and talk about the reboot stuff. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me on today's program. I have Jack with me on a Zoom meeting from Crazy Hank TV. How you doing, Jack?
I'm doing great. Fantastic.
Good. I'm so elated to have you here. I've been checking out your channel and I love the content on it. Of course, I'm partial to retro stuff, nostalgic stuff. Anytime you can look at something and learn a little something new from people who do the research and older now TV shows, and all the way from old, all the way up to, you did one on Lost, which isn't that old to me, but now that's starting to become retro.
Well, I podcast on Lost, so it was and Lost has a great fan base and it's a great community. So anytime I need a little boost, I just go, let's do one on Lost.
Now, did you podcast on Lost while Lost was airing?
Yeah, my son and I started. Actually, our first podcast was October 1st, 2005, and my son was 17 and I was like 40. I guess, or whatever it was. And he goes, hey, let's do a podcast on. So we didn't watch it the first season, but he got the DVDs. We binged it in like 2.5 days. I was like going, how did I not watch this show before? And then he comes to me like a week later because it was about ready to start. He goes, let's podcast on it. I go, I don't know what's a podcast, because especially back then, not many people knew it. And we started doing it. I said, okay, I'll do this for a couple weeks. He'll get tired of it. And went on from there, and we got to meet a lot of the cast members, and still talk with Jorge Garcia, who played Hurley, every now and then. I mean,
wow!
We got to go sunset on the beach and all that fun stuff. So yeah, Lost was a good experience. It got me out of my shell because I don't like doing this type of stuff.
Okay,
but now I didn't like it, but now it's comfortable now. Whereas before I'd be like, shaky. I would want to do it. But.
Gotcha. I was a huge fan of Lost. I picked it up probably in the 3rd season. When it started airing on the Sci-Fi Channel for 4 episodes a night.
Okay.
And we watched that, and then we had to wait for the rest of the seasons to come out, which was really, really sad. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat. I loved it. I even loved the ending. I'm one of those people who like the ending.
I like the ending. I had no problem with it. And again, but I'm one of those people that does, because most Lost fans will fight you if you say they were dead if you don't, I just go, okay, whatever you think. Yeah. I'm not going to argue with you.
Right.
It's not worth it to me.
It's not worth arguing about, but I'm sure you got into some arguments being a Lost podcaster. What was the name of the podcast?
It was the Lost Podcast with Jay and Jack.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So you're the YouTube channel is Crazy Hank TV.
Yes.
Now, what's the inspiration of that name? Because your name's Jack and it's Crazy Hank
Yeah.
TV. And that's why when I was emailing you, I was like, I thought his name was Jack when I was on the show. I was on Dave's show with him, but it says Hank. So I was just like, hey, bro, all that stuff you say when you don't know somebody's name. So
I will answer to Hank. I mean, I don't care. But what it is when my wife and I first started dating, and anytime like flowers or anything, I didn't sign it from Jack. I signed it for Love Hank, because Hank's the nice guy. Hank's the guy that does the loving things. Hank's that crazy guy that does the thing. So when I started to do a channel, I said, let's do Crazy Hank TV. Why not?
Oh, okay. So
it's an inside joke for me and my wife.
I gotcha.
But that's what it is. And people go, but your name is Jack. And I go, yeah, I know. But
so tell me, what is Crazy Hank TV about?
Well, it's about a lot of things. I make because in YouTube they tell you to kind of stick with one format. You got to stick with, and I kind of go all over the place. I've done different videos, but I've kind of starting to focus now just on doing more TV. Whatever happened to, or just my opinion of a TV show. Mm-hmm. I've tried to come in. I'm kind of person. I just kind of, if an idea comes, I want to do it, and I just go with it.
Right.
I was doing a lot of sports at first on it, and I decided, well, I'm going to start. I started a sports channel to get the sports off the link, because it does, I guess, hurt you in the algorithm. It's so I'm sure you've done it too, where you watch all these people, how to do this, how to do that, how to do this. At some point I get so confused because, they tell you different things, but basically it's TV and movies and my take on it.
Right. And you are a TV and movie fan.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Since I was a very young boy.
Right. And the interactions that I've had with you on Dave's show has borne that out. I mean, TV, you know it as well as more than most people know it. Of course, no one can know everything.
No.
And I showed that last time on the show. Make some crazy mistakes there, but
just the one, just the Lost in Space one, I think, right?
Yeah, that was a pretty bad one.
That's okay. I mean,
that was the worst answer possible.
Well, like I said, there was 2 Donna Reed questions. I'm like going, I don't think I ever saw Donna Reed. I don't think I ever watched it. So it was like, but
anybody doesn't know what we're talking about. We were both on Dave Sundstrom's live show, The Good Stuff. So, and we were talking about old TV shows and stuff on there, and we were on that show together. So that's what we're talking about. But I think everybody who's watching this will know about Dave Sundstrom's The Live stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's great. I mean, it's just
man,
fantastic,
sweetheart of a guy.
I kind of lean towards the old shows, like shows I used to watch. I will go back and rewatch them and instead of taking a new. I'll watch new television, but if it's something I like, I'll go I'm redoing The Office again and Battlestar Galactica again. I like. It's funny. I'll watch something I know, like MASH. I'll go back and watch that again, and people give me a hard time. I go, well, it entertains me. I know I'm going to like it.
Right. So speaking of Lost in Space, because Lost in Space does have a reboot, by the way. I don't know if you know that or not.
I do.
Okay, good. Let's start in on reboots, and I'm going to ask you some very philosophical questions. There's no right or wrong answer. This is just a dialogue. Okay. You tell me what you think. Okay. And then, because I want to know, people say reboots, and then there's remakes, and then there's part 2s and 3s. As somebody who's a lifelong fan of movies and TV, how would you categorize the difference between a reboot and a remake and a part 3 or 4?
Well, the remake is where they take basically the same story and tell it again.
Right.
And if it's a bad movie and they can try and make it better, I have no issue with that. But when you go, why are you rebooting this? I mean, there's, like Wizard of Oz or something. It's like, okay, it was pretty good the first time. You're not going to top it. Now, a reboot is where, kind of like where Battlestar Galactica, it was only out for a season. And then BSG came along and they took some of the story, but they changed it completely and made it a fantastic show.
Almost like different actors would.
Yeah, it was different actors. Women had more of a important role. They were, it's just an amazing show. Whereas I enjoyed it because I was a kid when it first, when the Battlestar Galactica came out. But it was kind of hokey. You look back on it, it's kind of hokey and stuff like that. But they did take some of they have all the same, most of the same characters, but like a woman will play a man's part, and and the Cylons are more. It's just a better. They knocked it out of the park on that one. But that doesn't always happen though.
No. So would you say that a remake is just basically the same story, and with different actors, but basically the same story over again?
Right. And it's just like,
so maybe a good example of that would be probably like Total Recall.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like that as a remake? Or, I mean, it was changed a little bit, but for the most part, it was the same story.
I know I watched it, but I was like, it didn't really stick with me. I mean, it's kind of like, because I enjoyed the first one. Right. I was like, okay, why are we, it's like Hollywood gets lazy.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
right.
And I know that it's expensive to do you have to hire all new writers. It's expensive to do it.
Right.
But if you're going to do it right.
Right. So
I think they get lazy.
What would be an example of, so a reboot would be, you might have the same characters but different actors, but you're kind of moving the story forward or in a different
right. Exactly. Yeah, that for me would work because I know a lot of people. I did a video on this a few weeks ago about Lost, and it's going to happen. Either a reboot, a sequel, a continuation of the story. But I don't see them doing a remake because I don't think the fans would put up with it. There's just no way, because I don't know how you could do it, but like they could do like with a lot of people said, let's explore Dharma more, the Dharma Initiative more. And there's things they could do to be successful at it, but they have to do it right. It's almost like Star Trek, where some fans just go, no, I don't like it. I want my original. That's it. And anything else they try to do, like it was what the latest ones were prequels were, and I enjoyed those. But a lot of people didn't. They said, no, I don't like it. I don't. But you're finding out their backstory. I think that's interesting.
I thought it was interesting too, and I loved it. I'm going to give you an example for me of a good, in my opinion, a good reboot, and then I want to hear your opinion on it, and then I want to talk about some bad ones, and then I want to talk about Logan's Run because that was kind of the all this is going on in my head right now. So first of all, I would say that a good example, despite what certain people say, is Star Trek. I thought Star Trek, the new movies were great reboots. It actually made me interested in the original. I wasn't too interested in the original. It was a little bit before my time, number one. And as it was originally rerunning, it wasn't action-packed enough for me as a kid, and then they had Star Trek The Next Generation, which was when I got into Star Trek, was Next Generation. I was like 15 when it came out. And I thought that the reboots were done really well. Of course, there's always criticism, even as a fan of it. There were certain things I go, but it actually got me interested now in Star Trek, the originals. Like when it's on, I'll sit and watch it now because I feel more invested in the characters.
Right.
Because I'm like, oh, that's Captain Kirk now. Even though Chris Pine played Captain Kirk, he still played Captain Kirk. And now I'm like, oh, I want to see what's going on with Captain Kirk in this, in the television series now, because it's interesting to me now. So that's an example for me that drew me into a reboot. What would be an example for you if you could give me a good example of a reboot and why you think it's a good example?
Well, like I said, I think with Star Trek, with me, I was a fan. I mean, I was old enough to be around when it came out. I was only 5 or 6, but still, I've watched it enough. But I wouldn't say I was a Trekkie. I wasn't that person that said, lived and died. Right? So I understand those people because it's they feel they own it. It's like, I'm the fan, and I've been a fan from day one. But again, I love the backstory, and I thought Chris Pine was excellent as Kirk, and the whole thing. But like I said, Battlestar Galactica was a good was probably the best one. It's probably the best reboot, because at first I was hesitant to watch it because I was like, oh, it's gonna be stupid. It's just like, what are they doing and stuff
They
like
got
that.
a girl playing Boomer and a girl playing Starbuck.
Starbuck, yeah. It was like, and I don't not be sexist that way. It just was like, okay, I'm not gonna like this, but I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and they did a great job. I'm trying to think of other TV shows where it's funny because there's not a lot that you go, they
TV shows or even movies. I wouldn't. So what's
yeah.
kind of interesting to me as I was thinking about this is Blade Runner. The new Blade Runner is
Oh yeah.
it's a reboot, but it's almost like a long-awaited sequel as well. It's kind of
Right.
different because it has Harrison Ford as the same character, playing the same character, and that kind of qualifies it as a sequel, but it's pushing the story along, and it's a totally different story. So it's almost like a reboot as well. And I thought that was a really good one, because it's really hard to distinguish between like a reboot and a long-awaited sequel.
Right.
Those are
the sequels are sometimes I'm like going, okay, you should have stopped. Like Jaws. Okay, I was okay with the second one, right? Okay, the first one is fantastic. It's an amazing movie. Second one's like, okay, that's all right. But then, third and fourth, and then like Ghostbusters. My son's a huge Ghostbuster fan. He's just huge. And I always argue with him. I said, no, they should have stopped at one.
You didn't care for two?
It was all right. It was okay. But to me, it was so far below the first one that I think it hurts its legacy a little bit.
Yeah. And I didn't see the third one. I saw the rebooted female version, which was a travesty. Sorry. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. That's one that goes. I
did laugh a few times, but it was like, okay, this is why we do it. Why were we doing it?
Yeah. And then I never saw the third one, which was about the children of one of the people.
Well, that hasn't come out yet, right?
Oh, it hasn't. I've seen.
Is that the one with Paul Rudd?
I think so.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I thought it got pushed back.
Oh, well, maybe that's why I haven't seen it.
It's Carrie Coon and Paul Rudd, I believe. Yeah, it's more of a serious. I think it's a serious. Now that has promise because it's completely different from the other three.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll watch it, but it's like,
Yeah, I will probably watch it too, just because, I watch things and I'm like, if it's on, it comes up in my queue.
Right, exactly.
I'm like, oh, okay, let's turn that on. So what started this was interesting to me was I was watching your channel and I kind of went back and forth about a few things I wanted to talk about. And then you did one on Logan's Run, which is a show that I've watched, but it's been a really long time. And you brought out some really good points on why they should make a reboot of Logan's Run. Well, just kind of explain that. I mean, you're for a reboot of Logan's Run.
Right.
Why would you want to remake that? And somebody's going to come along and go, that's a classic. Of course, you can't satisfy everybody again, but you got that pushback.
Well, in the comment section, I've already had people, and again, I don't, if you're happy with it, I'm not going to, again, I don't fight with you on that. But for me, and I've always been someone where like special effects are not that important, but if you're going to have them, they should be top notch. And a lot of those special effects in Logan's Run they're just not quality. And even back then it was almost like 60s special effects in the 70s. It just wasn't done. And there's a few storylines they could do where they could just, tighten it up a little bit. And I just think if they remade it, rebooted it, it would, I think with today's technology and special effects, I think it would be more believable because there's just so many scenes where I go, and I love Logan's Run. If it's on, I have the DVD, I'll watch it. I've seen it probably 50 times because it's just one of those movies. As a kid, I like that type of doom and gloom stuff where it's like end of the world and all that stuff happening. But it needs some tweaking. Mm-hmm. And I think it'd be because most people, if you look at the list, like worst movies of the 70s, it's on there.
Oh, really?
And I think a lot of people have that on their list, but I think if they redid it, it could be a classic.
Interesting. I like that because, of course, we've had it in Hollywood where a movie kind of revolves around the special effects and it's like overdone. But at the same time, and you like, well, you don't want to just have a movie just because you learned how to blow something up better.
Right.
But you also, I hear what you're saying. It's like you want the special effects to be top notch because you want the story to be top notch.
Right.
And it would be a better story. It would be a better film if the special effects in Logan's Run were up to snuff, or were up to date. It would do better, even if they did it the way, Star Wars was done. Like you said, it was like 60s done in the 70s. It was kind of a lower budget kind of thing. And I agree with that. I'm just like, okay, look, the special effects on that is not always the best. And as a result of that, if you did a remake, and I think it would do well in the box office too. I think it's a story that could be retold. Now, are you talking about a remake or a reboot?
I would probably go remake, but again, it would be like the scene with Farrah Fawcett. I mean, she became a great actress, but that scene was not, where they're doing the plastic surgery type thing and everything. Her acting wasn't up to. She was picked basically because she was attractive. Later on, she became a great actress. I mean, she was great in Charlie's Angels, all this different, but in Logan's Run, I don't know if it's the writing, because sometimes these actors, the writing's bad, or directing, whatever it is. That scene I would just cut out. It just wasn't
as good. You'd get rid of some of those scenes. So
yeah, I'd get rid of some of the scenes, some of the storyline, and maybe beef it up a little bit, and maybe make it more graphic. Some of the violence. I mean, I think that, I mean, you don't have to have it, but I think it would be I think to get people interested today, that the violence unfortunately has to be a little gorier, right?
People like violence. I mean, you like action shows. You want to see action. A lot of times action shows are going to have violence. There's going to be shoot ups or laser ups or kicking people in the head, or, those kind of things. So, all right. Now I'm going to give you a list of to reboot, not to reboot. And if they would do it, how would they do it, and yay or nay. And these are all ones that I've heard either from people who just didn't know better and from people who had good opinions and all kinds of stuff. And also we'll talk about sequels too, so long awaited sequels. All right. So here's the first one. E.T. What do you think?
No, leave it alone.
Leave it alone. Why?
Because it was perfect. I mean, it just was a perfect movie. I mean, what are you going to do? Have E.T. come back 50 years later and Elliot's, older than me, whatever it is. It's been too long.
Yeah.
Because the character, is he going to come back? It's a whole new family. The chemistry was so good with the kids with ET that I just don't think it would work. I'm shocked they haven't done it.
Yeah.
I'm sure, because I know they had that commercial a few years ago and everyone's like, oh, but I would say no, I wouldn't be for it.
You wouldn't be for it. And you don't even think that and it's kind of interesting too, because even the special effects aspect of it, I think on ET was spot on. Yeah. Did you know though, that they did have a sequel written and ready to go?
Did they?
Yeah, it was.
I didn't know that.
It's a darker sequel. It has to do with like ET's like cousin aliens, and like they're very maniacal and they come to Earth and the ETs have to come and rescue it. You can actually read about it online.
Wow.
I think you can actually read the entire script.
So it's a different twist. It's more.
It's like dark.
Evil.
Yeah,
okay.
They're dark ETs kind of a thing. But
okay.
Kind of like the difference between Vulcans and Romulans. Is that
okay?
I guess.
Yeah. But that might, if you did it now, that might work because it's a different story.
Yeah.
But I think again, I think it's been long enough too that a lot of the younger generation, a lot of people haven't seen ET.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it might be one of those things like War of the Worlds type thing. But I would probably be up for watching that.
Well, what about War of the Worlds? I mean, did you like that reboot?
That was with Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
You did like it. Okay, all right.
I'm a Tom Cruise fan, so it's like.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. Everything, pretty much the only things about Tom Cruise that I didn't like was his kind of cheesy, I don't know, the 80s shows I wasn't a big fan of, but I got to be a bigger fan of his, like his Mission Impossibles. I thought were incredible.
Oh yeah.
And
knowing he does his own stunts too.
yeah, and Minority Report I thought was an incredible movie.
Yep.
And what else? Oh, well, okay. So
Well,
speaking,
I like Top Gun. So.
oh, did you? Yeah. See, wasn't too terribly of a fan of it kind of back then. The Top Gun, the Days of Thunder, the Cocktail wasn't really.
I wasn't a big Cocktail fan, but I like Days of Thunder, and I liked Top Gun.
What about?
I grew up around Top Gun because that's where it was filmed in San Diego, and I'm from San Diego, so I had to like it. It was
one of those things. Okay, so to reboot or not to reboot or to, and you can go either direction. We can go part 2 or whatever. Okay, the original Star Wars. You want to reboot that or remake it? No, remake it now.
No,
not the original Star Wars. Okay,
it's one of those things. Maybe they should have stopped at 3. I mean, I've watched them all, but it's like the first 3 are, what is it, 4, 5, 6, whatever order it is. I love those movies, and of course, you had to wait 30 years for the next ones to come out. And I mean, I enjoyed them; they were good, but they just weren't. They just weren't as good as the first 3.
No, they were not. I loved Star Wars. I loved Empire Strikes Back more. I loved Return of the Jedi up to the Ewoks. And,
I'm not a fan of the Ewoks.
And then I really didn't like it after that. The first 3 I like them, but I don't love them. And then the new ones I can't stand, with the exception of Rogue One and the Han Solo movie. I like those.
I did like both those. I agree. You're saying the first 1, 2, and 3. I think they relied too much on the special effects and not the story.
Yeah.
Where the first one, because I was a kid. I was 14 when A New Hope came out. It was just called Star Wars then, and I remember being in the theater, I guess, going, because the special effects were like nothing we've ever seen before, but the story was so good.
Right.
But, the 1, 2, and 3 were just like.
Yeah, I didn't care for those. I didn't hate them the way some people hated them.
No, I don't hate them, but it's not like.
But I didn't love them.
No.
But I did like them. I'd have to say that. I'm probably a little bit higher than but I did like them, but I didn't love them. But I can't stand the new ones. I can't stand Force Awakens and all that. You can get me going on all this stuff here.
Do you watch Mandalorian?
Oh yeah. I enjoyed it.
I love Mandalorian. That's a good show.
That is it. Now, were you a fan of martial arts movies?
I watch Chuck Norris movies just because it's Chuck Norris and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I wasn't like, oh my God, I got to go watch that movie.
Would you think any Chuck Norris movies could be remade or are updated?
He's such a strong. I mean, he's not a very good actor.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got that strong. He's just a strong character. People love him. Would they accept someone else in his role? Someone else playing the part where Chuck Norris, one of his parts. What's the one where he is military? It's almost like a Rambo movie, but
missing in action.
Would people take someone else in that part? Because Chuck Norris he's almost like a legend. He's a folk legend. Just.
Yeah, he really is. It would be difficult. His acting got better as he went along. That's for sure. The beginning was really.
Yeah, he was brutal. He did a movie. Was it Trucker or some? I forget what it was. I remember seeing it in the theater, but his brother got kidnapped. And I don't know what it was, but it was so I was just a teenager back then. I go, God, this guy can't act, but he can fight.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, we love him for. That's why we watch action shows for the most part.
Right. Yes.
For fighting. Now, did you like, speaking of reboots and one we started on, did you like the reboot, both the movie and the Netflix series Lost in Space?
Yes.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. I mean, they've taken a different direction, Lost in Space, what's the mom's name? She's June Lockhart played the mom in the original, but she's got a stronger role other than just making dinner and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was done, and Dr. Smith's role is a little different.
Yeah,
And,
they put a female in there for Dr. Smith's
right.
role.
Yeah. So
in the Netflix series they put
right.
a female in there.
And it's coming. The third season's coming back here soon.
Oh, I hope so.
It's like the next month or so, I think.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That would be really awesome. I really do like. That's kind of why I felt bad about missing out on that question on Lost in Space, because I don't know the actors' names, and I didn't really see the originals that much. I mean, I've seen a few episodes for sure,
Yeah.
but I did like the movie that came out in the 90s, I believe.
Yeah, with Matt LeBlanc and some other people. I enjoyed the movie too. A lot of people didn't. I think because the TV show is so much different from the movie, and of course the Netflix series is not even close. I mean, it's really. Again, I loved the original Lost in Space because I was a kid. I grew up on that. I couldn't wait to see it. But they had like it was more cartoonish than where today it's like people are dying and people it's more
serious show.
More serious, yeah. Where again, Lost in Space was supposed to be serious, but it was more, they had different characters and people in wigs and stuff like that. But
I thought that the movie was a little cheesy, but for me, the reason why I liked it is because I really, even at that time, didn't have any connection with the earlier show. I only have seen the earlier show later on. Right. So I knew about it, and of course Gary Oldman playing the evil Dr.
Smith.
Yeah, I mean he's great in everything, and I'm always. Yeah, he's great. And I'm always a little leery when they substitute a female in for a male actor. And I haven't seen Battlestar Galactica yet. As everybody keeps telling me, you got to see it. And I haven't gotten past that yet on there. Not because it's for females, or whatever. I've seen other females. I can't. I mean, Starbuck was my guy when I was a little kid. I mean, that was my favorite television show.
This Starbuck is and BSG is tougher.
Is it
than Dirk Benedict? She is. She smokes a cigar. She smokes a cigar, and she's again. I was a little hesitant just because I was like, okay, I like the first one, but I don't know about it. Because again, I'm always hesitant about reboots and remakes.
Right.
But
what I was getting to on that was the reboot of Dr. Smith, the female version of Dr. Smith, and she's excellent. Yes. I mean, that is one maniacal character. I mean, really, quite honestly, your movie's really only as good as your villain is.
Right.
I mean, your bad guy really sets the stage for how good it's going to be, or whatever. Is there any? Let me say this. Let me ask you this: is there any remakes out there that are remakes or reboots? At least not a sequel. Okay, a sequel is going to come out within a couple years of the original, but a reboot or a remake that you watched and you're just like, no way, this is not happening for me. I just am not interested in this being as a film or a movie or television series.
Well, like I mentioned, Ghostbusters. I think I've seen the Ghostbusters 2 maybe twice, but not all the way through. There's just, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, TV shows or movies that, again, I'm always hesitant. And like a lot of, now you have the luxury of letting, because when I was a kid, the show came out, you either watched it or you didn't, because it would be gone. I mean, there was no recording it. There was no, now you go, okay, I'm gonna wait and see if it's gonna make it. And then, and number two, okay, am I gonna like it? Do people like it, or will it get canceled? I know I was a huge Magnum PI fan, and I enjoy the new one.
I haven't seen the new one. I haven't.
Yeah,
seen it at all.
It's not nearly as good as the original.
Okay.
but it's not bad either.
Okay.
It's one, and that was one I hesitated on. I said, I was a huge fan of the first one. I go, there's no way. But it's not bad. It's not bad.
I wasn't a huge fan, but I did enjoy it when it came on. You know, it's one of those that when it came on, I would sit in front of the television and watch it and actually enjoy the show. There's a few shows like that that's just like I didn't like, you know, wait for it to come on, but I'm like, okay, you know, when it's on, I'm like, oh, you know what, I should watch that more often. I don't know why I don't watch that more often. It's pretty good.
Because I know when Batman the movie came out with Michael Keaton, I was a huge Batman of the original, you know, the 60s, you know, Adam West and Burt Ward Batman. I didn't want to watch it. I said, no. I go, no. And I go, wait, it's like all serious. And I eventually got into it, but that took me a long time to sit down and watch it because I was like, I like the campy, you know, cartoonish boom pow.
Right. Well, I think that, you know, Batman's kind of an exception for me because I do love Batman. I loved it when it was a TV series. Of course, I watched, I think I was pretty much in reruns when I was a kid, but I mean, I loved Batman and Robin. That was it for me. I loved it more than I loved Superman. I loved it more than, you know, probably as I got a little bit older into the 80s, I liked Spider-Man quite a bit. But let me just say this. If there's something that kind of, it can kind of go either way at this point. Like, I think that there were remakes that need to be done that were good. And then there were remakes that is just like, are we going to do this again, man? Come on. Are we going to do this again? So X-Men was one of those things, you know, where they made the first movie, the X-Men, and I thought that was great. And I thought the Logan's, some of Logan's stories, there was one in there as prequel I didn't care for. But now they're talking about doing another updated version with another actor, you know,
right.
And although I like that, I'm just like, come on, man, are we going to do this one again? Are we going to do Spider-Man, you know, the fourth version of Spider-Man?
Right. I gotta be honest, I'm kind of burning out on the whole superhero movies. I mean, there's some that I've seen, some I haven't even watched yet, but I was like, I just go, God, another superhero. Because people, hey, have you seen that? Was it Falcon and
yeah, the new one, Falcon.
Yeah, I've heard it's good.
Yeah,
but I just go, I need some. I'm burning out on these. Let's do something different because it seems like Hollywood, they get in one of those trends, you know, where it's like, okay, we're gonna do this. Like in the early '70s, it was all disaster movies like Earthquake and Towering Inferno and Poseidon Adventure. It was like, you know, Irwin
and the
Allen.
Avalanche one.
Exactly. It was just like bam. And so now it's like superhero. And they're good, but like, you know, the first Wonder Woman movie was excellent.
Yeah.
The second was like,
yeah, I get it.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's stay on Batman for a second because you and I both like the original series. I did like it when it first came out. That original Michael, because we've had like the original on TV. And then we had a series and then a reboot of that series. And now we've got another one that I don't know if it's been out or yet. I haven't seen it. The one with the kid from Twilight. One of the vampires from Twilight.
Oh, okay. I know who. Yeah. Patterson.
Yeah.
Is it Patterson? Yeah.
Yeah. So walk me through that. This is a great example of reboot upon future reboot that we're even looking at here. So tell me a little bit about, so you came around to liking.
I think the problem was when, you know, Michael Keaton at the time was more known as a comedic actor.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm thinking, okay, Batman. I go, wait a minute, this is just so dark and so serious. I go, I guess I went in with the impression I'd be laughing a little more, and it wasn't. And I said, okay, and again, it just took me a while, and I didn't like the George Clooney Batman. I didn't like Ben Affleck as Batman. I just didn't like. I like Christian Bale. Christian Bale was excellent as Batman.
I thought that was a definitely great reboot.
Yeah, it kind of took it a different direction, and he's such a great actor. But and then Val Kilmer was Batman too, right? So
yeah, for one of them, he was Batman. Michael Keaton was Batman for two of them.
Right.
That second one actually is becoming more popular now than it was at the time. It was kind of like
That's what Jack Nicholson, or was Jack Nicholson the first?
That was
He
the
played
first
Joker.
one.
Yeah.
The second one was with Danny DeVito
As
and
Penguin.
as
Yeah.
Penguin. Yeah. But yeah, it's starting to become a little bit more popular now, actually. But it was very unpopular when it came out. I'm not looking forward to the Patterson one. I mean, it's just not necessarily because of him, but it, I mean, God bless him. I mean, everybody's an actor. Everybody's trying to get big parts.
Right. Oh yeah.
Best they can be. It's just, I feel the same way you do. I'm a little burnt out on the superhero show. But
and also you get a lot of people with Batman because a lot of people don't like him. I've even had arguments with people that say he's not a superhero. And I say, okay, is Iron Man a superhero? They go, yes. I go, okay, without the suit, he's just a guy. He's just me.
Right.
But
right.
people, I go, I don't know how people get that argument that Batman is not a superhero. But a lot of people say how much further can they take the story? That's the problem with Batman. I think a lot of people have is like Superman. How many, I love Superman, but all right, he's
yeah, well, they
him.
bombed on that one, the Man of Steel.
Right.
Or not the Man of Steel. I'm sorry, Superman Returns.
Right.
That one was bombed. That bombed
right.
out. I saw it in the theater, but
yeah, I think I saw it on TV.
It's not that good.
No.
Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
I was just saying that, again, I think they just, like you're saying with this the Patterson Batman. Okay, is he? I mean, I thought he's become a pretty good actor. I mean, hats off to him. But it's just like, okay, he's what we have talked about in the last 20, 25 years. We've had 6, 7 people play Batman. It just gets, I don't know.
Yeah.
Come up with something new, Hollywood.
Yeah. Are there any, well, this is kind of interesting because we're talking about reboots and it's all serious. Notice there's no comedies.
Yeah.
Well, no, Ghostbusters. I shouldn't say that. Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Far and few between. I mean, notice that.
Yeah, but they've tried, like, I remember The Odd Couple with the original Odd Couple was fantastic. I mean, it was a movie. And then the TV show with Tony Randall and Jack Klugman was excellent. And they've tried 2 or 3 times to bring it back, and it just doesn't work because it's not. They don't have the chemistry. I think even Matthew Perry was in one of them.
Yeah, the latest one. It was Matthew Perry, and then another guy. I forgot his name. He's been in lots of stuff, but Matthew Perry didn't come off as a believable grumpy person to me.
No, and it's just comedies, I think, are even harder because comedy is, I think, the hardest thing. They always, every actor says it, delivering a funny line is harder than giving a dramatic line, because you have to, in fact, when you're doing the movie or TV show, unless you're doing it live for a live audience, you don't know until people watch it if they're going to find it funny or not. But if you get like MASH, I would just say no. I mean, they did after MASH. I guess they did do that, and that was terrible. So there's just certain shows you just got to leave alone. It's just like, okay.
I watched after MASH, and didn't they do Trapper John or something like that too?
Trapper John. I watched Trapper John, but it wasn't really a comedy, and it was with Pernell Roberts. Wayne Rogers didn't play the part of Trapper John, and he was at a hospital and all that stuff. But it was like, I mean, I watched it, but it wasn't like MASH. MASH was just one of those fantastic shows that.
Yeah.
Just leave it alone.
Well, let me ask you this, as it's crossing my mind here. Which reboots are being talked about right now that you are looking forward to?
I got to be honest. I don't know any of them. Any.
All right.
I don't really pay attention to the. What's going on in the world. My kids usually tell me, hey, they're doing. I go, really? They're almost afraid to tell me because I'm like, because they know I'm probably be negative about it.
I'll tell you a couple of them, and then you tell me whether or not you're excited about it.
Okay.
So a lot of them, we've talked about so far were hypothetical. We're going to hypothetically do this.
Right.
Here's some actual ones that
Okay.
they are redoing that I'll be interested in your opinion on it. So it's Buck Rogers. That's the word I was looking for. They are doing a Buck Rogers reboot.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I like Buck Rogers, and I think there's been enough time that's gone by. I don't think it wasn't really considered a great show back then. So I think it would. It's not one of those shows that people go, "Oh, that you're going to mess up the legacy." I think I'd be okay with. I'll watch it. Is it going to be on like a cable, or is it going to be on?
I don't know. I really don't know if it's going to be a series or a movie. I don't know.
Because we haven't talked about that yet either. Because network television, I don't think there's a show I watch on network television anymore other than Magnum PI.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I think I've just stopped watching. I think that's important because if it's on like a Netflix or Hulu or the countless numbers of streaming services out there, it can be better. And it doesn't have to be 20 something episodes. It only has to be like 10, which I think keeps its story tighter.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, what we can do now with streaming is way better, in my opinion.
Right.
I mean, it's
exactly.
And I don't know if you've done this or not. You probably have, but it's very interesting. There's a model when you don't have a streaming service on shows, and when you do. If you don't recognize that model until you binge watch something that wasn't meant to be binge watched,
right?
Because the tropes keep coming up over and over again. Like one of my favorite shows was The Mentalist.
Okay.
But I didn't recognize this until we watched it all back to back.
Right.
Every week he pegs it. The female says, no, that's not it. They go off and say, it's the same thing every week. And they stop doing that now that you can binge watch shows. You'll notice that they don't have the same kind of tropes coming up. It actually develops.
Yeah, that's spot on. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. So another one that's coming out is Friends. They're doing we're not doing a reboot. They're doing a long-awaited sequel, I believe. I don't know.
So it's the original cast?
It's going to be the original cast, and they are going to be doing a kind of update where they are now kind of thing.
I don't know. I'll watch it but it's not like they've ever left the screen. It's just like they've all continued acting. Do they need the money? They're making like $30 million a year on the reruns. Each of them.
Yeah.
It's like
I don't think they need the money, but let me say, as a huge fan, it's like I kind of want to know. Like, I have my own mental image of like where Chandler and Monica would be today, and what whether or not Ross and Rachel would have worked out, or like Joey, because I love the character so much, I want to see it again, but I also don't, because I love him so much, I don't want to see him ruin it.
No, and it's because a lot of times, like when the Andy Griffith Show did their remake, it was like 20 Back to Mayberry and stuff like that. It was like, okay, it was okay because I hadn't seen those characters in a while. I don't know. I know my daughter's a huge Friends fan. She'll watch. I'll watch it, but like I'm like you, don't screw it up. It can't be. It can't be. It can't be hokey. It can't be. Yeah. It has to be. And I don't know if I'd necessarily go for all laughs either. I might go for just more of a serious. You can have some laughs, but like you said, I want to know what's happened with Monica and Chandler. How many kids do they have? And did Joey ever make it as an actor? Top-notch actor. And Rachel and Ross, I hope they don't get back together because I think they're not good for each other. But that's just me.
Well, okay. So last question, then we're going to go into the final couple phases of the show. Is there any reboots out there that you would not get sick of? Like you said, Battlestar Galactica, you love the original, you love the reboot. If they said, hey, we're going to do it again, is there something out there that you would not get sick of, that you're just like, keep them coming, man? They're great.
Well, they did do like a spinoff or a reboot with Caprica, but it was half interesting and half boring. So But they have talked about doing a reboot, and I would watch it.
Okay.
I would. I just like the story. I mean, it's like Rocky. I mean, they've had Rocky 8 of them now, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I love that character. So no matter what Rocky does, I will tune into. Even though people go, I hated the 5th one. I didn't. It's just something I enjoy. I enjoy Rocky, and I'm going to watch it.
You liked them all. That's good. I didn't. I don't think there's any of my. I like the Creeds too. You know, where he's where it's about the newest ones are good.
Mm-hmm.
One that doesn't get disappointing that I think that it might have, but I liked them both was the Mission Impossible. I liked the original Mission Impossible. And I mean, of course, I watched it in syndication when I could, and then the movies that have come out, like literally the first one was kind of like the cheesiest, but I loved it, and like the third one, Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation. I'm like, these are the best movies in the world, man. I mean, I really like there's this sense where you go, well, wait a minute, they might mess it up, but they haven't. Like, it's been really good.
No, they've been excellent. I agree with you, because I was like, Mission Impossible. Oh wow, and it's more action packed than the TV show.
Right.
I think that helps too. I was going to say though, the one show I've been saying for the longest time they should remake, and it's a show that had like 640 episodes, and I think I've seen them all, is Gunsmoke, the original Western.
Yeah.
I said what they should do is, it's more like, I don't know if you ever watched Justified with Timothy Oliphant.
I haven't seen it, but I know about it, and I know it gets good reviews.
You need to watch it.
Okay.
Because what I think they should do is, it should be a lot present day, and the marshal is a descendant of Marshall Dillon from Gunsmoke, but he's driving a car, and he would be based on pretty much how Raylan Gibbons from Justified is.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not a writer, but I think that would work. I think that was something that people would be into.
You are sounding like a writer.
I'm an idea man. I can throw the idea out there, but the writing part would be hard. But I'm always, because that's a show that I'll watch the 50, the 6. I'll get on there and just watch it, and just
Gunsmoke was good.
Even though it's corny, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, there's so many reboots. And speaking of reboots, and that one, and there was the Wild Wild West, which I love the TV show, and I didn't care for the reboot. I love the TV show. I thought the TV show was great.
Movie was brutal.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Now, worst, I got to tell you, here's the worst remake. This is for Kanda. She's going to be listening. She's a fan of mine. Love you, Kanda, but this is good because we're going to agree on this. One of my favorite television shows as a kid was The Monkees. And it came out again on MTV, but they tried to do a reboot. I don't know if you saw that. You can actually watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen a few episodes.
The most horrible reboot ever. That's when they should have never tried to reboot, was The Monkees. It's such a classic.
Because the Monkees was just, 4 guys having a good time, and just
yep.
And I saw a couple episodes, like I said, on MTV, and I was like, no, go away.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah.
All right. So final phase of the show is, before we do our closing out, is video store memories. Jack, you grew up where video stores was a big deal. It was a big thing. We went to the video store. That was a big thing on Friday, throughout the week, whatever. Please share with our audience, in light of the fact that there is only one Blockbuster left in the entire world. Please share with us one of your favorite or least favorite videos.
Well, I was I was an adult when video stores became popular. My kids, like you said, every Friday night, had 3 kids, and I said, okay, you guys can each pick out a movie. Of course, it took my son the longest time to pick out a movie, and he ended up picking out the same movie. But we go, okay, get the popcorn, get your candy, get the movie. That was always good. But my favorite story is my wife would always forget to bring back the movies, and we'd always have to pay the penalty. I go, but she goes, why don't you do it? I go, you're right. Your work is right next to the thing. Well, she rented a Chorus Line. I think it was a Chorus Line. I didn't watch it. She rented it. And I go, hey, did you take that back? She goes, yes. About 2 months later, I'm cleaning out her car, and I find it under her seat. The fine was like it was cheaper to buy the movie, and we paid like $75 for this movie. That's what it cost us, because just to get our account back into good graces. And, yeah, $75 and she never watched it again. But yeah, that's my, and I always give, if she says something, I just go chorus line. And we've been married 30 years, 30.
Right.
I can't remember. I'm gonna get in trouble here. 33 years, whatever it is. And I'll just go chorus line. She knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Like, that's your trump card right there, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Chorus line.
Chorus line. All right, Jack, tell everybody where they can find you on the web.
You can find me on YouTube, Crazy Hank TV. Also, you can find me on Twitter at Crackpot Jack. It's a different Twitter, or Crazy Hank TV. It's there, and I'm on Facebook and all that fun stuff. And
are you still podcasting?
I do podcast. My son and I, we podcast on Westworld and Stranger Things, but that's only when it comes around. And I do a podcast with a bunch of guys. It's more of a adult podcast, and we just have some beverages and just chat. And it's more like just me hanging out with, because I don't know, I'm retired now, but my job now is taking care of my grandkids, my two youngest ones, who are 19 months and almost 2 years. So it's like there's not much conversation going on. So I have some adult time with some friends and podcasts with them.
I gotcha. All right. Stick with me on the line afterwards. I just want to talk to you for just a minute after we close out the show. If you have not subscribed to Hank's channel, if you've not subscribed to Jack's channel, Crazy Hank TV, go do that right now. It's great. Thanks for joining me on this episode. If you are listening to this on podcast form, please leave me a star review and a written review. Those mean a lot to me. They go a long way. And if you are listening to this on podcast only, head on over to the YouTube page. If you like what we're doing here, you're going to love what we're doing over there. I've got some stuff that's exclusive to YouTube that doesn't quite transfer over to audio only. But I don't care. However you're listening or however you're watching, it's all cool with me. I'm just glad you're watching. I'm glad you're tuning in. I just don't want you to miss out on anything. But if you are on YouTube, please do me the honor of subscribing to my channel, hitting the like button, hitting the share button, hitting the button. And if you don't like this, then go ahead and hit that dislike button twice. That'll let you know that you really don't like it. So hit it 2 times, and that'll really let me know that you didn't like this. That you didn't like this show. Share it on your favorite social media. If you want to part with some of your hard-earned cash and make all my wildest YouTube dreams come true, you can follow the link below to the Buy Me a Coffee page, and donate. Donate. I need your money more than you need it. By golly.
What are you doing with the money? Nothing.
Let me do something.
I know. I went on and watched what's the character? Martin Short's character?
Ed Grimley.
I didn't know half the stuff that you talked about.
Oh, well, good. Thank you.
I was like going, wow, I did not know that.
All right. See, we got a testimonial right here.
There you go.
Oh, and by the way, if you are out there and you do have a podcast or you do have a YouTube page or whatever, and you want to be on my program or you want me on your program, please hit me up. I'm always looking for guests. Okay. Sometimes people think, oh, you got a program, you must have a million ideas. I'm always open to be a guest on someone's show or have somebody be a guest on my show. We're always looking for ideas as creators. So please hit me up. I have a contact page on YouTube. You can hit the contact page and, you can email me and I answer them all. I'm not so big that I have assistants at this point. So I answer them all personally. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Stay retro.